Hey everybody. I've been in the last probably 3 or 4 videos on my channel. I've renamed it David. I've been trying to explain what happened to me about a week before Christmas. And I want to kind of tell you what has happened after that. Now, at the time, or when, let's put it like this. My job was taken from me on, let's see, it was around like the 19th, 18th or 19th. Now, this job I've been doing for 7 years, you guys, I'm sure you know what it is. I was driving for Uber Eats. I was driving for Uber and Lyft up until 2 years ago, and I dropped them because I dropped carrying people about a year and a half ago because of everybody that was complaining that I refused to wear a mask. So to stop the complaining, I went to running just food. Well, with the trumped up charges they put on me this year that stuck in a corrupted courtroom, they have now, and I've had this license since for about 20 years, and 14 of them I drove semis over the road, and for the last 7 I've been driving. 6 to 7 I've been driving for Uber Eats. Uber, let's just say. Now, these people know damn good and well I had a driver's license. I worked for them. If anything would have happened to my license, they would have been notified by the insurance company. They know damn good and well I didn't lose I had a driver's license. The state of Ohio, BMV, states I had a license. The arresting officer sat in the witness stand stated I had a driver's license. But I was still prosecuted for driving without a license whatsoever. Not without a license in my pocket, because I had it in my pocket, folks. They claimed I did not have a driver's license whatsoever. And that's what they prosecuted me on. Well, when Uber Eats did their background check, they found these new charges of me refusing lawful signal of a police officer that was working as security at a grocery store called Giant Eagle. He wasn't even in his police officer's car or duties. He was security. But Indiana was the license I had, and even Indiana said I had a license. The only, 3 people who said I didn't have a driver's license was the judge, the prosecutor, and the officer that put false charges against me. I'm not even going to mention his name. Well, it all stuck, because this is a corrupted court out here. This Mahoney County Criminal Courtroom number 2 is corrupted. There's no doubt. I have the proof of that. But they not only falsely charged me and made it stick and put me on probation and charged me $625 in fines, they destroyed my driver's license so I couldn't work anymore. Now, this was a job I could do without wearing a mask, because I only had 30% lung capacity and I had major heart problem. There's not a whole lot I could do. And this court down here made sure they took that away from me as well. And through this whole case, folks, I claimed Jesus was my lawyer. And he was. This all happened this year, folks. Both my parents died in this last year. I wasn't allowed to see my mother. All this stuff happened, folks. And it's built. I'm trying to tell you that to lead up to this. On about the 18th or 19th, Uber took my job away from me because of this background check. Now they know I had a license. I was beside myself, destroyed. I was. I got to say, because this was the only money I could make to help with around this house when I'm paying bills and stuff. I do a lot of things around here, folks, but my money don't pay nothing. And I was always taught a man pays his way. Well, when they took this, it destroyed me. And I got mad at God. I was mad, folks, for a couple of days. We all fail. But sometimes things happen for a reason. And me getting mad, and I even told my wife when she was asking me, what's going on? Like, what's going on? Why are you upset so bad? And I said, I'm in a battle, or not a battle. I'm fighting a fight in my head, and it's not with you, it's with God. And this, like I said, it went on for 2-3 days, folks. And finally, this is the only way I can explain it. Jesus sat me down, had a talk with me, explained some things to me, told me some things I could have never found out in any other way, folks. Any other way, because the only two people that I could have asked, I thought anyway, uh, the only two people I could have asked about this died this year, and that was my mom and dad. But before they died, I got to go back here a little bit. About 3 or 4 years ago, I get a phone call. My sister had run her DNA through one of these DNA things. Also, at that time, this young lady out in Arizona, at 29 years old, run her DNA looking for her real father. Well, they both got their, their reports back from their DNA. And my sister gets a phone call from two women, one of them in Arizona and one of them in Tennessee. Now, the two women that called her had already found each other through this DNA. It attached these two women together as, would have been niece, or they were cousins to each other. They were cousins. And it claimed that my sister was either their niece or nephew, or not nephew, was either their niece or aunt. And she was too old to be their niece. So they contacted my sister. Now, both these people had a story. They told my sister. The young lady from Tennessee told my sister that her father was my dad's son. So now I'm telling you, this was just about 4 years ago. This girl told my sister that she was looking for my dad, and that was her grandfather, and that she told my sister that she had a half brother. His name was Ray. Is Ray. He's still here. Now this guy would make him my half brother, but I think he's 66 or 67 right now, maybe 68. So he's a few years older than me and my sister. And so they explained that they did their DNA and it brought them to her, and so she gave the information to my dad. They talked to my dad. Well, the young lady finally got her dad, that was supposed to be my dad's son, on the phone with my dad, and they talked. Now, I'm going to stop right there on that one. The other young lady from Arizona had contacted right after that, almost at the same time, because they both knew they were going to call my sister. The other young lady called her and asked her if my sister was Carrie, and she said, yeah. And she goes, do you have a brother? And my sister said, yeah. And she goes, because she didn't know my sister had two brothers. And she goes, well, this young lady told her, your brother is my dad. And now my younger brother already has a kid. So my sister immediately thought of him. I've never had no blood kids. I've raised two that weren't mine. She goes, yeah, yeah. Are you? She goes, Brandon? And she goes, no. She goes, my mom finally told me his name is Brian. She goes, oh, okay, yeah, I got a brother named Brian too. So my sister gave them my phone number, and they contacted me. This was my daughter. So in one phone call, folks, I ended up with a brother, half-brother, and a daughter. Now, when Jesus sat me down to have his talk, and he wanted to show me that what's going on is what's supposed to go on, and he even tells me something about my father that I never knew. Now, at the time this thing happened with my half-brother getting a hold of my sister to find my dad explained to me, he said, or he explained to the family, and the family told me, and he verified it later when I asked him about it. But my dad had told me, he said, man, he goes, I was with this woman before I met your mother, several years before I met your mother, a few years. And he said, he was with this woman and he loved her and everything. And he never did explain why he left, but he left for a little while. And then he went back. Now, he told me when he went back, the woman was pregnant. She told him it wasn't his, and she was getting married. And he was baffled. So he left and never went back. Now, that's the story he told me. Now, on the 21st of this year, the day my dad died last year, when Jesus sat me down, told me this, or had this talk with me, he told me a story about my dad. And he told me that my dad was in love with this woman. He still didn't give me a reason why my dad left at the time he left. But my dad did leave. And when he came back, this woman wasn't just pregnant. The baby was already born. And she was already married to this other guy. So he was gone for quite some time. I don't know how long, but probably at least, maybe she got pregnant and it scared him off. Maybe that's what it was. But he was gone for a little while, and he came back. He wanted back in, you know. He wanted to be with his son, and he couldn't do it. She was already married with somebody else now. This is what Jesus is showing me, telling me. He said he found out that the little boy's name was Ray. And he thought he would never see the guy again. He thought he'd never see his son again, his firstborn son. And he didn't want to ever forget his name. So when he had his second child with my mother, which would be my sister, was the oldest, when he had her, he used his son's, firstborn son's name for the middle name of his daughter. My sister's name's Carrie Ray. My half-brother's name's Ray. Nobody in my family knows about this. I talked to my half-brother about it, and I'll tell you about that. Nobody in my family knows about this. They still don't, because I don't talk to them down there. My family, my immediate family around me knows. And so, like I said, he never wanted to forget his firstborn son's name, and he thought he would. The older he lived, the longer he lived, the older he got. He would never be able to see the kid. He was afraid he was going to forget the boy's name, so he gave it to my sister as a middle name. Now, we were led to believe that when my dad came out of the Korean War in 1953 or 54, he became a drunk. Well, Jesus showed me he didn't. My dad didn't become a drunk till he realized he'd never be able to see that baby boy again. That's when he started drinking. And that was after he was married to my mother. And I can prove that because my mother was married to a man before she met my father. And he was an alcoholic, cold-hearted alcoholic. And she left him. She divorced him. And it wasn't long after that she met my father. If he would have been an alcoholic out of the military, he would have been an alcoholic at that time. My mom would not have had anything. My mom never drank in her life. She couldn't stand it, never smoked cigarettes, never did any drugs or anything. She would not have taken up with another drunk just after divorcing one. So my dad wasn't a drunk when he married my mom. It wasn't until after he realized he would never be able to see his firstborn son, which broke his heart, that he became a drunk. Then I was born after that. And I reminded him of the fact that he would never be able to see his firstborn son. And with him being drunk at that time, he took his anger out on me. Which was all right, folks, because I tell you what, it made me tough enough to go out here and cross this country by myself. I was not scared of no man. I would walk into any neighborhood. I still do it today. I drive through any neighborhood. Nobody fucks with me. I've never been scared of that. So maybe that was a good thing. that I went through that, because I wouldn't change nothing about my past. But I told after this talk with Jesus, and I find this stuff out, and also that was when he told me about my name, David. He said, why do you go by that middle name, Brian? It don't have no meaning. David's the name God gave you. Your mom and dad didn't even have a choice. David was the name God gave you. And that means beloved. That's your first name. Why do you go by your middle name? It's what my parents trained me to do. They call me by my middle name, not by my God-given name. So all these things come out in this conversation I had with Jesus. I told them to my wife, my daughter. They's flipping out because they know these people I'm talking about. They're flipping out. Even my daughter said, man, I wish Jesus would show me things. I called my half-brother. Now, when my dad died, I was talking to this guy. I never met him. I never met my half-brother. I met my daughter. We've seen each other face-to-face once down in Alabama at my mom and dad's house. We all met down there so my mom and dad could meet her too. And we all met down there, and I met her once, but that's the only time I've seen her. I talked to her. We text and stuff all the time. She was in our Christmas. We send her Christmas. They send us Christmas gifts, and we do it on the video on screen. We watch each other opening gifts. But I called my half brother, and I was talking to him about it. And I told him I got some information I think you need to know, and I said, I'm being told to tell you. And so I said, just hear me out. Wait, let me get through it because I'm trying to remember everything. And then I'll let you ask questions at the end or whatever. And he goes, all right, man, I'll go for it. So I started telling him this story. Left everything, or I told him everything that dealt with him. I didn't tell him about my name and stuff like that. I didn't give him all that. Just telling him that what pertained to him and my father. And I said, I don't know. I told him, I don't know if you know, and about Dad being an alcoholic. Anyway, you guys, I just told you the story. And so when I was done, he goes, man, he goes, I want you to know something. Your dad used to come by and play with me as a child. He goes, I don't remember it, but that's what my family has told me, that Dad used to come around and play with me as a child, probably before he met my mother. And I don't know if my mom never admitted anything about it, never told us any different. She just led us to believe that there was no other kids out there. And Dad knew about him. He just verified it. He said that his dad used to come by and play with him when he was real young, baby. And then as people were starting to die off and stuff in his family, other people told him the truth. Now I was telling him about my sister getting his middle name, or getting his name as a middle name. Now he's met my sister. He's ate dinner with my sister. He's talked to her many times too. And I asked him, I said, you know what my sister's name is? He goes, my sister's middle name is? And he goes, no. I said, it's Carrie Ray. He goes, no kidding? I said, yeah. And I go, that fits with the story I was told by Jesus, does it not? Carrie Ray, your name Ray. I go, he took your first name and put it as my sister's middle name. He goes, no. Ray ain't my first name. Ray's my middle name. So even though he wasn't in our family, and my mom and dad called me and my brother by our middle names, my dad's other firstborn son was also called by his middle name. Now, his first name, I asked him, I said, what's your first name then if Ray isn't your first name? He goes, my first name's Alton. I said, what? He goes, my first name's Alton. I said, that's Dad's middle name. He goes, I know. I'm flipping out over this name game that's been going on in my family for almost 70 years now that I knew nothing about, and I'm 60. I knew nothing about this stuff, folks. Nobody in my family knew about it. Nobody's ever said a word about it. Where did I come up with it if I didn't get it from Jesus? And this guy's verifying. I never met this guy. I couldn't tell you what he looked like. I couldn't identify him in a lineup. And he's verifying this stuff. This whole thing has totally blown my mind. That it can be such, I can get information through Jesus that is such detailed, and I can back it up with the people that are still around to prove it. If that's not amazing to you people, I don't know what. There couldn't be anything amazing to you then. I hope you guys have what I have. I hope you guys do. If you do, why didn't you tell me about it? Why didn't you guys tell me about this? People, I am a follower of the way. And I am a witness. And I don't even know why I say that. I'm told to say that just like I was told to say I'm a righteous man. People, you don't know what's coming. This stuff that's happening right now, it ain't nothing. You could call this an exercise. It ain't even went full on yet. I beg you to find Jesus. Don't really matter because ain't nobody gonna see this video unless I drop it on your channel, YouTube. Since I stopped talking about the government, they've locked me down even harder on what channels I have left. I think 1 or 2 or maybe 5 views now. I was getting on some videos 15 to 30. They done cut me down, way down. I don't even think you guys are getting notified or anything. Because I'm not dropping none of these on anybody's channel right now. I haven't been. And a few people I've made a promise I wouldn't do it anymore. I hope you guys are seeing them. That's all I can do. All I can do is give you my testimony. If you guys want to think I'm lying to you, I've made all this up. It might be thrown back in your face. Jesus looks at you and says, I sent Brother Brian over, or Brother David, I should say, not Brian. I'm dropping that name, folks. It's going to take me, I've had it for 60 years. It's going to take me a long time to switch over to David. But I sent that Brother David out there to tell you. Didn't you hear him? It's going to be up to you guys. You'll have to make a choice. And if you don't, it'll be made for you. And if it's made for you, you're not going to like that choice. That's why you were given free will, folks. This is up to you now. Look into my eyes. Do I look like I'm lying? Do I look like I'm trying to make money off of this? Because I'm not. I'm just trying to get the word out. None of you know what truly is happening in this world today. You ain't being told the truth about anything. As far as on that news station, your government, and the medical field. If you keep following them, you're going to be on a bus on a highway, not walking up a stairwell. Watch and see. Love you guys. Till the next time.